and step into the fantasy realm of Isekai. If you don't know what that is, you're about to. Let's go. Isekai anime has always provided us with an outlet to escape the mundane routines of school and chores and everyday life. It's also provided us with hope of a better world where our past no longer haunts us or where our flaws define us. Now, before we get into the official list of Isekai that you need to watch, let's look at some honorable mentions. Those include The Wise Man's Grandchild, How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, Log Horizon, The Rising of the Shield Hero, and The Eminence in the Shadow. And also, if you've seen Bofuri, do you think that can be considered an isekai anime? I mean, I'm asking you, so let me know in the comments. We have ReZero starting life in another world. ReZero starts off with the usual isekai pattern where someone is escorted to another world after an accident on their way home. However, unlike the rest, it thrives in its spectacular world building and in-depth character growth. If you're into dark themes and psychological twists, then you'll probably click with Subaru and his gang. Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation. Mushoku is one of those light-hearted isekai that calms your nerves and lifts your spirit. It's a story of redemption, of growth, and change. When Rudius, a middle-aged Japanese man, is killed by a truck, his soul is transported and then reincarnated as a baby in another realm with his memories and his consciousness still intact. Mushoku really delivers on its storytelling, its action sequences, and its character introduction. The Devil is a Part-Timer. This is almost like a reverse isekai. Instead of going away to a fantasy world, the Demon King Sadao is forced to retreat from his palace after the forces of good invade and threaten his dominion. After entering the mortal realm of Earth, he tries his best to regain the magic he's lost, but ends up content with just working at a fast food job and making new friends. Drifters. It's an anime for battle enthusiasts. It's truly an action-packed show that's filled with blood and gore. After legendary warriors pass away, they're guided to a hallway where they meet a mysterious deity who assigns them a new mission. Fighters from different time periods join hands to fight an evil warlord who's depicted as the evil messiah. Konosuba, God's blessing on this world. Aside from the typical Truck-kun intro, the comedic vibe starts off from the first interview. When Kazuma, the protagonist, is asked to choose a power before he's transported, he points at Aqua, which is the angelic deity responsible for escorting him. This creates an unexpected twist where Aqua loses her powers and seeks to return them, while Kazuma builds a team and decides to conquer the land. Characters like Megumin and Darkness will eventually live in your head rent-free due to their amiable nature. That time I got reincarnated as a slime. This one's great. This has to be one of the best isekais out there. The reason that this show is so good is due to its power accumulation. Rimuru is the idyllic representation of what we envision in an isekai. In terms of power alone, Rimuru would probably make the top 3 strongest characters in isekai overall, and let us know in the comments if you want us to make that video. This anime is great for anyone who's looking to boost their knowledge of abilities, maybe for people like aspiring writers or artists. I mean, you're creative. I recommend you give it a chance. Fate, or more specifically, the Fate Apocrypha series. This version is sort of like the combination between Drifters and The Devil is a Part-Timer. Unlike Drifters, though, it isn't solely based on actual warriors or physical prowess. Fate calls upon mythological and historical warriors from across several timelines using magical artifacts called catalysts. In a nutshell, 2 factions battle over the Holy Grail. It's said to be able to grant any wish the user desires, thus an intense battle royale ensues between these factions and between the reincarnated soldiers themselves. It's crazy. No Game, No Life. To me at least, still stands as the pinnacle of storytelling, and I'll tell you why. It's the type of anime that you'd recommend to beginners to give them a taste of the exquisite deliciousness that anime has to offer. The storytelling revolves around two undisputed gamers who are also siblings. Sora, the older brother, and Shiro, the younger sister. Together, they're known as Blank. One fateful day, when they won a game of online chess, they were offered to join a magical realm filled with games and challenges. Thinking it was a joke, they accepted, only to be pulled in through the computer screen. They were introduced to the rules of the world by the current ruler, Tet, who informs them that there are no wars, no savage fights, but instead everything is solved through games. Overlord. In the world of Isekai protagonists, Ainz Ul Gon sits on the throne of supreme power. Ainz starts off the show at his pinnacle, having conquered the entirety of the virtual world with his friends. He then bids them all adieu and decides to quit, only to find out that the servers glitched and he was stuck inside the virtual palace that he's built. Upon closer inspection, he finds out that the NPCs have come to life by gaining consciousness, emotions, and sensations. After accepting his fate, Ainz decides to expand his empire one territory at a time. Amidst his expansion, we get glimpses of his extraordinary powers here and there. Things like levitation, reincarnation, teleportation. He can form black holes, he can cure the injured. He's creating undead monsters at will. I mean, the list goes on. Whether it be physical combat or elemental abilities, Ainz has it all. And speaking of battling in a virtual world, we've arrived at our #1 spot, and that is Sword Art Online. Finally arriving at the top spot of the greatest isekai ever made. I don't believe that there'd be any qualms or protests over this, but of course if you disagree, please let us know in the comments. Sword Art Online portrayed the grim consequences of living in a futuristic world where your friendly gadgets could be your worst enemies. It took dying inside a game to a whole nother level by adding the concept of actual mortality into video games. It's a concept that we all knew, but maybe we weren't able to conceptualize until this came out. Kirito might not be as OP as Ainz or Rimuru, even though he turns into a monster as the show progresses, but the reason why Sword Art is with all these names and shows, Sword Art is the hardest one for me to pronounce right every time. I don't get it. The reason Sword Art excels is its plot. Having to climb the tower one stage at a time before defeating the final boss and escaping the dangerous labyrinth is a story worth listening to. Sword Art Online Season 1 is capable of giving you goosebumps, and it does me every time. As you move forward, your mind won't be able to handle the awesomeness of the visuals. If you loved this video, show us by giving us a like and clicking subscribe if you haven't already to stay updated. Until next time, stay epic!